Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. A proposal to restrict parking at a housing development sparked conversation from concerned residents. Ryan Pattee has more.
A discussion about restricting parking led to many residents voicing their concerns involving the Legacy Bend development in Norfolk. The conversation started with a proposal to restrict parking on the north side of Sunrise Drive in Norfolk. The developer of Legacy Bend wishes to restrict parking due to the issues it can cause when driving through the area.
And as the development has grown over the years, the traffic on this roadway has substantially increased. With this being the main way into the roadway, the initial part where you come into is what's been developed with some residential homes. And with parking on both sides of the street, that's created problems with snow removal, emergency response, and parking issues getting in and out of there because it's so heavily traveled.
However, some residents who attended Monday's meeting spoke out against the restriction, stating that speeding would worsen should parking be restricted, and said that there were more pressing concerns the developer should focus on.
The speeding, if you open up the parking, it's a nightmare. I think there's got to be a better solution. We were made promises when we purchased this home, and those promises have not been kept. We were told that there was going to be a second entrance because we were very concerned about this.
Other residents also testified to the need for a second entrance, saying that the developer should have already created another entrance.
It needs to be done. It should have been done. Period. It doesn't matter. That road should have been done before they finished those other apartments at the end. I love the area that we live in. I love the people. I love all that. But it should have been done already.
Because the developer was unable to attend Monday's meeting, they requested the parking restriction be tabled until the city's next meeting in April, so they could address residents and the council with any questions or concerns they might have. This was approved in a unanimous vote from the Norfolk City Council. In Norfolk, Ryan Pattee, News Channel Nebraska.
Fireworks are being blamed for a fire in northeast Nebraska yesterday. The Stanton County Sheriff's Office tells us a pair of teens set off fireworks north of Pilger, which led to a fire in the area yesterday afternoon. The Sheriff's Office said the fire spanned about a half a mile, keeping fire crews at the scene for several hours. Local farmers were credited with helping keep the fire from spreading. No word on whether or not any criminal charges will be filed. An Omaha company and its president have pleaded guilty to federal crimes. The U.S. Attorney's Office says 39-year-old Matthew Peterson, president of Quinn Global, pleaded guilty yesterday. The company itself also entering a guilty plea. Peterson and Quinn Global were accused of mail fraud and selling an unregistered pesticide. Quinn Global manufactures adhesive and tool systems, but they began manufacturing and selling disinfectant during the pandemic. The product was marketed as EPA approved, even though it was not. The antimicrobial solution technically fell into the category of a pesticide, which is under the EPA's purview. That means the company's falsification became a federal crime. Both Peterson and the company will be sentenced in July. Peterson faces a maximum of a year in prison. The company faces up to $500,000 worth of fines. It appears Nebraska will now have dueling ballot initiatives regarding abortion. A group calling itself the Protect Women and Children Initiative is aiming to create an amendment that would prohibit abortion at about 13 weeks of pregnancy, with exceptions for rape, incest, and medical emergencies. That's mostly in line with Nebraska's current abortion law signed by Governor Jim Pillen last May. This new initiative stands in contrast to another proposal by the group Protect Our Rights. They're seeking to enshrine access to abortion in Nebraska in the state constitution. Lawmakers in the Nebraska legislature this week reversed course on a decision to allow immigrants to work in law enforcement. On Monday, state senators removed an amendment from LB 894 that would have allowed immigrants with DACA status to get jobs as state troopers, police officers, and sheriff's deputies in Nebraska. The amendment allowing children of immigrants to work in law enforcement had been approved, but it was removed after the bill's creator, Teresa Ibaugh, asked for it to be taken out. LB 894 would require a candidate for sheriff to have a law enforcement officer certificate. That same requirement would apply to those who are appointed as sheriffs. Husker fans may be keeping an eye on the state legislature this week. LB 1393, which would clarify NIL language and allow universities to discuss NIL, got first-round approval in the unicameral. The bill moved forward on a 29-0 vote. The bill was proposed by State Senator Ben Hansen of Blair. NIL stands for Name, Image, and Likeness. It gives college student athletes a chance to profit off their recognizability. The 1890 initiative was established in 2022 as an NIL collective centered around Husker student athletes. Currently, schools are limited on their level of participation. Hansen says his bill would allow increased flexibility for universities to adapt to changes on the national level. The Biden administration brought its anti-Trump campaign to Omaha this week. Second Gentleman Doug Mhof in Omaha, insisting that Trump can't be allowed anywhere near the White House. Joe Jordan has our report.
Second Gentleman Doug Mhof, husband to Vice President Kamala Harris, in Omaha to rally the Democratic troops. But first, this.
I am the first Jewish person ever to be married to a president or vice president.
Mhof furious with former President Donald Trump's latest that any Jews who vote Democrat hates their religion. They hate everything about Israel and should be ashamed of themselves because Israel will be destroyed.
This is a disgusting, toxic, anti-Semitic thing to say by anyone, let alone a former president of the United States, and it must be condemned.
The last time Nebraskans voted for a Democrat for president, it was Lyndon Johnson in 1964. That's 60 years ago. But in 2020, Joe Biden won the 2nd congressional district here in Nebraska, picking up one of the state's 5 electoral votes. And that's why Doug Mhof is back here in Omaha, again looking for that one electoral vote.
The election will be close. It shouldn't be. This should be the biggest no-brainer in history.
According to Mhof, this visit not his last. He says he'll be back before the election. In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
Despite calls for State Senator Steve Halloran's resignation, there's no indication the Hastings lawmaker is going anywhere. Joe Jordan has more on Halloran's apology and the fallout for sexually explicit comments that included the name of at least one fellow lawmaker.
Should I have interjected the senator's names? No. Sometimes we do things on the floor in the midst of making a statement that we shouldn't have done. So again, I apologize to Senator Michaela Cavanaugh.
That was Senator Halloran in the light of day. This was Senator Halloran Monday night.
Stop staring at me, he said.
Reading sexually graphic excerpts from a book about rape. While blasting the book's apparent availability in Nebraska school libraries, he inserted the name of another lawmaker, a Democrat.
I kneel before him, Senator Cavanaugh.
Senator Michaela Cavanaugh tweeting that Halloran's words were gross, disrespectful, and beneath the Nebraska unicameral. And here she is after Halloran's apology.
It is clearly not something we should tolerate.
Republican State Senator Julie Slama not buying Republican Halloran's "I'm sorry."
This place is special because it's the one place in the state of Nebraska where you can get up and talk about raping a colleague and not have any professional consequences. Senator Halloran, you should be ashamed of yourself for being incapable of apologizing. There is no justification for your actions, and you should resign.
Following his controversial comments, Halloran said he was actually addressing Michaela Cavanaugh's lawyer brother, John, another lawmaker.
And Senator Halloran, I will stand up and fight for your right to exercise your freedom of speech, even when it is offensive to me and my friends and family.
What was said literally reinforced what abusers have always said, that it's the victim's fault.
All that said, no indication Halloran is resigning. In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
Amazon is coming to central Nebraska. The retailer confirmed to KSNB News yesterday that it's leased a building in Grand Island for a so-called last mile facility. That's where goods are sorted and loaded onto delivery trucks. Amazon didn't specify a location, but signs could be seen for Amazon deliveries outside the old FedEx building on Gold Core Road in Grand Island. Openings for manager and assistant manager have also been posted on Amazon's website. Media members in southeast Nebraska will be wishing a good friend a happy farewell at the end of this month. Doug Kennedy has more.
Southeast Community College Administrative Director for Marketing and Communications Stu Ostertune is retiring at the end of this month after 16 years with the college. The Elk Creek area native was formerly the marketing specialist for Northwest Missouri State, where he received his undergraduate degree. Ostertune says Southeast has undergone quite a transformation in recent years, most notably in modernizing its facilities.
All the way from new housing to new academic technical buildings, and we still have a couple in Lincoln that aren't out of the ground totally yet, but will be soon. So that stands out. Certainly just different processes that have been changed. We have a new advising model, an enrollment model. We have a strategic plan that I think employees live and work each day.
SCC also rebranded itself, developing a new logo launched in March of 2019 and choosing a college mascot, the Bobcats, with an expansion of athletics offerings at all of the SCC campuses. Ostertune feels community colleges have gained more acceptance as time goes on as a viable option to help in developing a career.
You may want to go to a four-year school. You may think that a bachelor's degree is necessary, and once they take a look at a community college or a trade school, they find out that that's not so much the case. I mean, we have proof in our graduate report every single year. We report the average starting salary of graduates from each of our programs, and the two-year schools are a viable option, and I think more and more students will be looking at schools like Southeast.
As for retirement, Ostertune says he has a lot of things to keep him busy.
I love to garden. I love to do yard work. I especially love woodworking. I've made a few things for the grandsons so far. I look forward to do more of that. I love to fish. Back in the day, I played some golf. I might dust those clubs off too. So I don't think that I'll be idle for very long.
Ostertune attended his final SCC Board of Governors meeting in Beatrice Tuesday. College officials were holding a Wednesday retirement reception in his honor. From Beatrice, Doug Kennedy, News Channel, Nebraska.
Hundreds of central Nebraska students spent a day learning all about agriculture. For the 22nd year in a row, more than 700 fourth graders from 15 different schools gathered at Fauner Park in Grand Island, educating themselves about how agriculture impacts them. Hall County Ag Day Chair Annette Schimmer says the day is meant to teach kids about the important role agriculture plays in our day-to-day lives.
If we can plant the spark and plant the seed and, develop something, or they may not remember it today or tomorrow, but maybe 5 years from now. Oh, I saw that at Ag Day. So just something for them to reference and say, I learned that. That's what our main goal is.
Throughout the day, kids received hands-on experience at booths, saw several farm animals, and observed live demonstrations from horse trainers, horse farriers, and a sheep shearer. Governor Jim Pillen made a stop in southeast Nebraska yesterday as part of a celebration for a uniquely special week to Nebraska. Jake Bartecki has more.
Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen's statewide tour of Nebraska celebrating National Ag Week brought him to the state's southeast region. On Tuesday, Pillen spoke to a group of farmers and ag producers from the Beatrice area about the good of farming in Nebraska and a look into the state's future in agriculture.
Agriculture's been leading our state since March 1st, 1867. We have an incredibly robust economy that's growing.
Pillen also discussed a recent topic of debate in southeast Nebraska, ag production and other land uses in a county deemed to be ag-friendly.
Every county of the state, we have different, we have different agroecological zones. We have different zones where there's different best practices for production agriculture. But the hardcore reality is between grains and cattle across our state, every square inch virtually of our state can have an incredibly productive match for production agriculture. And as I like to say, we feed the world and save the planet in Nebraska.
Just a week ago, Trev Alberts resigned from his role as Nebraska athletic director to take the same job at Texas A&M. A day later, Pillen issued a call to action expressing the need for a swift hire for both roles of president and AD. He broke down why.
The world's moving fast. The world's changed dramatically in the last 5 years. College athletics, things have changed dramatically in the last 2 and 3 years. Every day something's happening. When you don't have leadership in place, the world's passing you by. Nebraska's going to lead the way. We're not going to let it pass us by.
In Beatrice, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
The future of a historical landmark in northeast Nebraska will be up to the public this coming election. Andrew Pfeiffer has more.
Skyland Ballroom is a historical landmark here in the town of Hartington, Nebraska, and come this May, there is going to be a bond for voters to vote on whether they can move the building or tear it down.
A vote in Hartington could quite literally pick up a building and move it. Roger Wortman is the owner of the Skyland Ballroom.
I would like to see it get moved. I just can't run it anymore. Our family does not want it anymore, and we need the property. So I would love to see the city move it.
In May, voters will get to have their say on whether to relocate or demolish the building through a bond vote.
And if the votes are in favor of moving the building, the bond will take the building from this spot right here to this open lot just half a mile down the street.
According to Miranda Becker, the economic development coordinator of Hartington, the move would benefit the town's economic growth.
You lose hotel rooms, those kind of businesses that are associated with, say, weddings, caterers, floral, all those types of things. Those people will go elsewhere, so we'll lose all that business. So it's really an economic question at this point.
So what is the biggest obstacle for the voting opposition? Taxes. Community members would have to pay a levy of 0.1117% of what is estimated at a $1.3 million bond.
There's some talk of a new building, which we know the new building is going to cost a lot more than moving this thing, which we have went into that already.
Obviously, nobody likes to see their taxes go up. So obviously there's always that. But there have been some kind of differences of opinions.
Now, it is a big year for elections in the state of Nebraska. This is just one of the issues that you will see on your ballot. Reporting in Hartington, Andrew Pfeiffer, News Channel, Nebraska.
The Federal Reserve meeting today to vote on whether to cut interest rates. Analysts predicting the panel will announce that they're holding steady. Here's why. The economy is doing fairly well, but inflation's general path toward cooling has some speed bumps. Economists say the war in Ukraine continues to affect global oil and food markets. Companies say Mideast unrest makes it harder to get oil and other goods through the Red Sea. And recent domestic issues are also factors, like the auto workers' strike, government shutdown worries, and the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. That has Wall Street predicting the Fed will cut interest rates not now, but sometime this summer. Nobody won last night's Mega Millions lottery drawing. The jackpot now goes up to $977 million. Last night's winning numbers 24, 46, 49, 62, 66, and the Mega Ball 7. And while no one won the jackpot, 4 people won at least $1 million by matching some numbers. Water conservation, the topic for hundreds of elementary students in northeast Nebraska, and in a fun way yesterday. Over 500 fifth graders from 4 counties participated in Elkhorn H2O Days. Edible aquifers, launching bottle rockets, activities like this help accomplish the goal of learning about the importance of groundwater. Because of the importance of the Elkhorn River in the region, officials with the Lower Elkhorn Natural Resources District say conserving resources is an important message for children to understand.
They just go turn on the water faucet and they think, oh, there's the water, but they don't realize that it's coming from the ground and how we have to protect that resource that we have.
Rogge says the hands-on activities offer both a fun and interactive way to learn, and how the teachers and students both give excited responses from the event. She says some 15,000 students have gone through the program over the past 3 decades. This is the 30th year the LENRD has put on the program. And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.